All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, last night, Canelo Alvarez improved his record to 58 2-2 with a unanimous decision win over Gennady Golovkin, whose only two professional losses have come against Alvarez. Now, boxing fans have seen three tremendous fights between Golovkin and Canelo over the last 5 years, with the first fight resulting in a controversial draw. And of course, the last two meetings going the way of Alvarez. But boxing fans should be left to ask themselves what could have been, as in my opinion, boxing fans were robbed of what could have been one of the better trilogies between these two future Hall of Famers. Now, in my opinion, it all starts with Canelo's former promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, protecting him. And I say that because the first fight between Triple G and Canelo took place in 2017 when Canelo was 27 and when Triple G was 35. But honestly, that fight should have taken place at least 2 years before it did. And why was this happening? Because it was something where De La Hoya kept putting the fight off, in order to protect this guy because, he knew that Triple G was going to get a little older and his skills and his punching power were not going to be what they once were. And at the end of the day, if you're De La Hoya, mission accomplished. Now, even with that said, what we saw in that first fight was a doozy. I mean, you think about it, Canelo is one of the strongest or most powerful punchers that the middleweight division has ever seen. And I mean, go back in that first fight. Canelo really dropped a hammer on Triple G, and any other boxer at that division that Canelo would have been in the ring with that night at that moment would have been knocked out. But Triple G kept coming, and even at the point where Canelo had a shocked look on his face, like he can't believe it because he hit Golovkin as hard as he could. And Golovkin took it. Golovkin delivered some punishment to Canelo as well. And honestly, I really felt, and there's a lot of people who felt that Triple G won that fight. But you know what? It's the politics of boxing once again. So by the time you have the next two fights, Canelo's in his prime, of course, and Triple G is starting to slow down a little bit. And even with that said, those fights were close. So it to me, I think it's one of those where you know what, you have the trilogy, you had the rivalry, but what makes a trilogy or what makes a rivalry in sport great is when both parties involved get their hands raised and get the victories. And I think at least in the first fight, Golovkin was robbed of that. And honestly, by the time that they had their first fight back in 2017, we should have seen at least two fights between Canelo and Triple G at that point. But again, it's the politics of boxing that ruined this. And that, them putting off the fight was not the first time that we've seen this, and it's not going to be the last. But at the end of the day, the people who are robbed are the fans. Now, for me, Golovkin is now 40, and he's probably got one, maybe two more fights in the tank at the professional level, maybe a farewell song, because he's never going to once again be the king of the middleweight division like he once was. And Canelo Alvarez, on the other hand, is going to, go on and continue to enjoy his prime as he's now 32 years of age. So you look at it, and Canelo has been one of the more dominant middleweights that we've ever seen. And, Golovkin was a guy that a lot of people didn't want to fight, because of his punching power. And we had people, we saw people, several guys over the years call out Golovkin wanting to fight. And then by the time they got in the ring with him and after they touched gloves and they felt that power, it was like, whoa, you know what? I might have bitten off a little bit more than I could chew. But Canelo is not that guy. Canelo has never backed away from a challenge. And I'm saying that not to sound like a hypocrite because I feel like it was his promoter who was protecting him and not Canelo because Canelo is a fighter and he wants to go out there, he'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. And that's the same thing about Triple G. And that's what made these three meetings so captivating, because it's a scenario where, you know what, they want to go out there and box. And when they get in the ring, they're not trying to like duck anybody. They want to go out there and throw and go blow for blow. But with that said, it's still for me that what if, what could have been, because I really do feel that we were robbed by something that could have been much better than what it was. At the end of the day, both Golovkin and Canelo will definitely laugh all the way to the bank, because both of them were paid handsomely for these three fights. Canelo more than Triple G, and Canelo will continue to get paid due to his contracts that he has with networks such as the Zine. But nonetheless, it's just one of those. It's like, this trilogy is going to be in that yeah but category. We got three good fights, but what could have been if these fights had taken place several years before they did, when both guys were more at the top of the game, more notably Triple G, than what he is now, as his skills have definitely begun to fade. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.